If you're anything like me, then you're probably more resilient than most because you've gone through the trenches and the struggle more than most. You've been somebody that's probably been in the trenches for years, if not your whole life. I know for me, it seemed like God never gave me the opportunity to rest, and in many ways, it almost seemed as though God wasn't even giving me the time to really heal because I had so much to do. I had so much to focus on, and I had so much to really work at. But over time, I realized that for me, myself, sometimes the work was the healing, and sometimes the healing was the work. So, really, through time, I developed this understanding that is greater to the whole picture, seeing the whole picture for what it was, and seeing the whole landscape of everything for the way it was, and to see the moving image of the work play itself out in the ideal of that which I was striving for. So the topic for today though is going to be on how people, when they see your power, they start to do these kinds of things and they start to do certain things, right? And the more resilient you seem to be, it's almost like people get upset that you are still breathing. Sometimes it really seems that way. People are really upset that you're still doing what you do. You might not even be, as far as financially, as well off as some of the other people that are around you, but yet for some reason you've got something that they just seem to want to leech after, even though they don't understand what you have. And what you have is a connection to the Almighty God, the Creator, the Most High. And they are, in some ways, they don't even understand what that is that you have. Some of these people are just so bankrupt on a soul level that they cannot see the kind of value that you see just within the universe itself, because you see life for what it is. You value life. You move through life probably with a stoic mindset, or at least striving to be a stoic mindset. And the resilience that you show, you don't complain. And if you do complain, you're not even complaining. You're just telling the facts for what it is. Sometimes that's what happens when I make sometimes some kinds of videos. People think that I might be talking about negative situations, and that's not the case at all. I'm just talking about the situation as it is with no sugarcoating. And it's not even to say that I could be more direct than I am, because in some ways, it's not necessarily that I hold back or I hold my punches, metaphorically speaking. It's more like I can say this and I want to challenge myself to say certain things in a more sophisticated fashion, because I value and I strive for intellectual integrity, and I value and I strive for intellectual honesty, as well as spiritual harmony and alignment with all things. So with that, and following Christ myself, there are sometimes people will see you and they'll just be bombarded with these emotions because you're making them feel a certain way about where they're not, even though it seems like on the outside they have all these things. I'm very careful with people nowadays. I'm very careful because the same kind of people that will pose to be your friend will turn out to just want to take advantage of you. And I make people see my intentions very clearly. I speak very clearly, and so people naturally just see my intentions. If I'm interested in something, I'll say I'm interested in something. If I say this is what I'd like to see, this is what I don't want to see, I'm very direct about it. I'm very open about who I am and what I'm expecting and what I'm striving for in my relationships and just in life in general, even though I don't always announce what exactly I'm doing and how exactly I'm doing it. this almost like adds to the mystique of your presence. And if you're a man or a woman, really, but if you're a man specifically that is hush hush, that stays quiet while operating in the confines of the community, while still being cordial and respectable and showing a sense of maturity, and yet for some reason some people just really don't like you for it. It's like you're just minding your own business, going about your day, you're keeping your head on a swivel, and yet for some reason some people will be watching what you do ever so closely, and women will sometimes get jealous or angry at you because you're not approaching them, and it's just like I don't know what you want me to do. Like it's so funny because sometimes women will think certain things about you as a man that are just simply we're not even thinking about. Like we're not even thinking about that, and they'll think about something along the lines of, oh well, he probably has a girlfriend, or he probably has something that he's thinking about, or he's probably thinking about some other girls or whatnot. And I'm thinking about how to build my family legacy. I'm thinking about what kind of workout I'm going to be doing next. I'm thinking about how I'm going to strategize and build a foundation for my family down the line and to give something of value to the people. I'm thinking about how I'm going to build my skills. And it's like some of the women out here are just so disconnected from what a man has to do, and which is fine. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something that I've noticed is that they think that you being who you are is somehow a threat to them sometimes. And this just goes in line with the whole topic. They sense your power. You carry yourself with a sense of cadence to which you can attribute to the presence of God. And when you have that presence of God, all is going to be revealed to you. These people are cheap. These people are cheap in their souls. They're expensive in the material, some of them anyway. Some of them are cheap in the soul and in the material. But I would rather be expensive in the soul and be quality, choosing quality for the externalities of life. I would rather live a life which dedicates myself to excellence and values the finer things in life, where a lot of the times people, both men and women, want to choose the impulse control. They want to go to the parties. They want to go drinking. They want to go smoking. They want to go do this. They want to go do that. And it's like, where's that getting you, man? Like, where is it getting you? It's not necessarily the case that marijuana or psychedelics have the only capacity for good or for bad, but they're better than drinking, that's for sure. They're better for any other kind of like cocaine or heroin or whatnot. That stuff, I've never had any inclination to do that kind of thing ever. And I'm not trying to negate or put down anybody that's tried it perhaps, but man, if you're stuck there, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I've worked with people that are addicts. I've worked with people that have behavioral patterns that tend to associate themselves with substances of any kind so that they can neglect their emotional state. And I can understand the emotional state not wanting to be confronted, but on another level, it's like, man, you've really got to focus on that. You've really got to accept that your emotional state is what it is, and did not run from that. And I know that that takes courage, but what's the alternative? The alternative is to stay frozen in time, dedicated to a substance that does you no good. Like, really? So if you're somebody that is sober-minded, that is vigilant, that you don't go out drinking. You don't go out partying. You're not being promiscuous. You're not trying to sleep with anything that walks. You're not trying to sleep with anything. You don't watch corn. You don't watch these things. You don't vape. You don't do smoke cigarettes or this or that. And again, I'm not trying to pick on anybody that does those things, but have you tried being sober? Like, have you tried it? Have you tried it for a long time? It's actually really nice. It's actually really nice. You get a sense of who you are and what you're about, and you just feel more connected to your mind, body, and soul in a way that you never really felt connected before. And you always thought that there was something else externally that needed to alter your state of consciousness. And I'm not saying that people that want to experiment on their consciousness for the sake of and the intent of growing closer to God is necessarily a terrible thing, depending on the substance that is, like weed or psychedelics. I can understand, but these other substances, they're not going to get you closer to God in any way, shape, or form. None whatsoever. I have yet to see that any kind happen, but I have seen and I have experienced for myself where people have had weed or psychedelics as a medicine and it's propelled them to better states of mind, and they're not using it anymore, or some of them still are using it here and there, but not a lot. I myself don't use it, and that in of itself is a power. Being able to be soberly vigilant, I swear that's like a superpower nowadays, because people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to be sober. They don't know how to just live as if this life is meaningful enough as it is. Like, you don't need all this stuff. If you can eat well, you can work out, you can have a healthy relationship with yourself, you can show compassion to yourself, you love Jesus or just God, whatever you want to call it. If you're still trying to find your way, I know personally that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. I am fully convinced of it. I never found true healing until I went to Jesus Christ, and I've tried other things, but I never got true healing. I never got true understanding or true control over my life in the way that I have when I started to follow Jesus. And even when I started to follow Jesus, and still to this day, I am willing to die for my beliefs. Now, do I want to necessarily? No. But I've had stuff that has happened to me personally where it's affected things, and like the workplace or other things like that. And I'm not saying that I go about like shouting Jesus Christ is king at my 9 to 5 or whatever, but but if people have tried to talk to me about certain things, I just tell them that at work anyway, I'm here to mind the business I'm being paid for. I don't want to really talk or make friends with it. I'll be kind, I'll be cordial, but I don't want to be talking about these other things. And that pisses people off too. That pisses people off. And so they'll see that you doing that. They'll see you have boundaries. They'll see that, does he think he's better than us? It's like, no, I just don't want to talk about that stuff at work anymore. I tried it. It sucked. Like, it didn't work. I'm going to go with something that works now. And that's what we should all be striving for. We should all be striving to be better. We should all be striving to do things that work, to participate in things that work, to participate in reality, not fantasy, not delusion, not these things that are going to counteract everything that has to do with our livelihood and our well-being. If you think going and getting, if you're a woman and you think letting every man conquer you with the D is going to liberate you somehow, you're terribly, terribly, terribly mistaken. And men, if you think being able to put your your genitalia in the vaginas around anything that you just want to put you just want to put it in because that's just, I just feel like it. Where's that going to go? Where's the Pink Palace going to really take you? There's nothing in the Pink Palace that could actually give you something of substance. There's nothing that is actually there except if you're in a relationship long term. There's no other reason to be doing this kind of stuff. We need to follow God's laws, statutes, and commandments. And if everybody did that, the world would be a much beautiful place. But people aren't doing that. They're being covetous. They're wanting to steal from work or from places, or they're wanting to just get a free ride, or they're wanting to try to do things enough to where they'll be just successful enough to where nobody has to question them, or they'll want to put on an act where people will seem like, oh, this person's this way. Oh, they have this title. Oh, the titles don't mean jack motherfucking shit, okay? They don't mean anything. What are you actually doing to help the society that you live in? Are you actually contributing? If you're a woman, do you have a family? Like, or are you focusing on your career? If you're focusing on your career, good for you, lady. Good for you. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But we need babies. We need babies out here. We need godly babies, because that's the only way that we're going to get more toward a healthy state of mind. If anybody thinks that the world is going to be a better place in 5 years, you haven't been looking around, brother, sister. You haven't been looking around. Things are not going to get better, and I'm not here to try to be a doomsday person. I'm just speaking the truth. And all the men out there, if you're not building your skills, if you're not trying to be competent in certain areas, if you're not just at least trying, if you're trying, then God's going to see that, okay? God's going to see that you're putting in effort, that you're actually giving a crap about your life and about those around you, and that you actually want to make a difference in the world. You want to put your dent in the universe, right? You want to put your dent in the world. You want to participate in the world, but not the worldliness. And you participate in the world through acts of spirituality, uplifting, empowerment of the soul, and not empowerment through victimhood, okay? So this is how you're going to get true power, is by being able to stand on who you are, what you're about, and really living an authentic existence. Because when you can live an authentic existence, guess what? God sees that too. This world that we live in, it is completely just like a computer program. Okay? We're living through a computer program, essentially. Do I actually know if this is a simulation? No. I don't really know, but I've seen enough to see and to understand that this is, by all intents and purposes, a computer simulation. And the truth is going to be revealed to us after death. But even when we die, we're going to have the everlasting life with Jesus Christ. So how do I know that there's going to be life after death? Again, it's not really something that I know. It's just a matter of fact that when we have this ability to think about living beyond the body, we naturally feel much more at ease with our existence. We can rejoice in our existence when we think this way, when we can look forward and live a vigorous, zestful life where we can really feel as if we can do anything. That, for some reason, it's just for some reason that makes us grounded. Does it mean that there's actually life after death? I have faith. I have faith that there is, but it's not going to be the kind of life that I think that we're thinking. It's not going to be the kind of life that I think that we're thinking about. So, with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.